Alright, let's do this. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day so far. Yeah, we got let's talk about vampires, because they suck. I've never been a huge Dracula fan, or even fans of the vampire genre. Especially when they just like start mixing them all together. And one of the main reasons for that is because I just felt like there's something wrong with the whole vampire story. You know, starting with Bram Stoker's Dracula. Because there's been stories of vampires even well before Bram Stoker came out with Dracula. And I think it's because, like, the mythos and the seduction and the lack of decay and all those things that they add in, making vampires extremely powerful. When I don't know if they would have that stuff. We kind of don't have those types of things, with living. I don't know where you would pick that up after being undead. But, the restorative power of blood and things like that, people will say. But the one thing that always got me, and I read Dracula when I was like little, and I only read it like once, and I never really picked it up, and I was like never trying to get my thoughts together. It never intrigued me. It never, made me go, this is how vampires work, or everything like that. But the one thing that I, misinterpreted, you can even, drum it up to the Mandela effect, is that Dracula's damned for eternity. This is his hell. Because based on. Supposedly, as the story goes, his wife committed suicide under the news of hearing of his death, which was not true. And he threw a dinner party to have all religious sects get her to go to heaven, because he was fighting this war. Against the Turks, I believe it was at the time. But he was fighting this war in the name of God. And his good deeds could give his wife salvation because of a miscommunication. And they went, oh, no, 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 no. She committed suicide. She's condemned for all eternity in hell. So Vlad the Impaler does what he does best, and he kills everybody and impales them all, condemning him to eternity as a vampire. That's the myth. At the end of the story of Dracula, Hawkins lops off his head and kills Dracula. And of course, everybody has him coming back, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, he's still damned. Like, he's still damned to be here for all eternity. Yes, it's a happy, quote-unquote, happy ending. Yeah, but here's was he 300 years old at the time? Only 300 years old at the time. Creature. One movie that I actually really adore because of how they portray that. And the one scene, which is also in Bram Stoker's book, where they're describing his book of what Max, who's playing the Nosferatu, thought of the book, and he said it was so sad. And they asked, why was it so sad? And he was like, well, it's so sad because here's a king fought wars and won wars and did all these things, and in his life, in eternity, he now has to make food for his guests. He has to serve them. interesting thing about vampires and being undead is they're one of the few undead that retain who they are. And that goes back to my conversation about, I can't even think of it. I was supposed to look up the name of that ship, and I did not, and that's my fault, and blah, blah, blah. But there's a ship, and if they replace everything, replace all the boards, is it still the ship? And the answer obviously is yes, it's still that ship. Even if you replaced every single board, every single nail on that ship, it's still that ship. And the other part of that is if you put together, using all the original parts of the ship, another ship, is that the ship? And the answer is no, that's a new ship. Even though you built the ship on all the boards and stuff like that, you replaced from the original ship. That goes with my transport. We're gonna end that right there because I have lengthy discussion on that. But the one thing about them being undead is that they retain their souls, unlike zombies and everything like that, like mummies. They still retain who they are. They have their soul and the things that they thought and believed and stuff like that. Are they their living counterpart? Still, the answer is no, but they are themselves. Vlad Dracul is Dracula as a vampire, as well as Vlad the Impaler. Vlad Tempish, all these, they give him a bunch of names, but yeah. Dracul is how he became Dracula. A Dracula is just a vampire or a Nosferatu or whatever the being is. And that goes back to like Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda is not Yoda as a baby. Baby Yoda is whatever species Yoda is. They're part of the same species. take on vampires. White Wolf had the Masquerade and the Masquerade. I love playing that game. I love playing vampires. Or I should say, I love playing with vampires. I didn't love playing as a vampire. Big difference. And because I've never really been a vampire, it's never been one of my interests. I don't know why. I think it's because getting infected like a zombie by a vampire does not condemn me to death. In fact, it would be the exact opposite would probably happen. And fighting against a vampire would probably be a redemption. Probably be granted almost instant salvation. Killing zombies. The reason you kill zombies is because they're not who they were. And they were reanimated. Reanimated. As undead. They're different entirely. Watching. As always, cool beans in the comments below. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a fantastic time doing it. And we get to do this again tomorrow. We're going to have a fun time. All right, and I will see you then. All right, again, thank you for watching. It means the world to me.